Other venue. The governor said the budget of renewed hope, consolidation and continuity is aimed at promoting economic growth in the state. He also assured that his administration will continue to work towards improving the state.
We assure you that we will never take your trust and confidence for granted. We will remain faithful to our oath of office and do the best we can to advance the aspiration of our people for good governance, peace, security, and inclusive development.
In Ondo State, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has forwarded a letter stating his intention to embark on a medical leave to the State House of Assembly. The Speaker of the House of Assembly, Olamide Oladiji, who confirmed receipt of the letter on behalf of all the lawmakers, said the governor's action is in line with Section 190 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended. He says the Deputy Governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, would now assume the responsibilities of the governor in acting capacity until there is a written declaration to the contrary.
Letter of transmission from Executive Governor to His Excellency Lucky Aiyedatiwa. I've received the letter, so my duty now, is to give instruction to the Clerk of the House to put up a letter of approval, of which I'm going to approve, and then we forward it to the SSG.
Let's now take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, who is a lawyer and political analyst, Justice Ojieno, for discussion on the political tension in Rivers State as Governor Fubara presents 2024 budgets to four-man faction of the State Assembly. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. Now let's get to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by a lawyer and political analyst, Justice Ojieno, for discussion on the political tension in Rivers State as Governor Fubara presents 2024 budgets to four-man faction of the State Assembly. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Right. So, some political watchers have said what is happening, the recent developments in Rivers State is not new, but what makes it different this time is the timing. Do you agree that this is quite early?
I feel so too. And for me, I feel that it's actually a very, very tough one on the governor of the day to be able to maybe, for starters, maybe yank off what he feels that is overburdened that's placed on him. But again, there's a lot of it that meets the eye. We as maybe external analysts may not be able to see exactly what the cause of the row is, but I know that as between the both of them, or as between everybody within the inner circle, they know exactly what the talk is. And this is the time for us to call on well-meaning elders, not just of the party, but of the state, to call all warring factions to the table and try to ensure that they are settled, because the erstwhile governor has a very, very strong and important role to play in the peace, order, and good government of Rivers State. Just as much, if not much more, than the roles that the present governor has to play. But now the toga is on the present governor. It is his primary responsibility to ensure that Rivers State does not go up in flames. So the elders should just come, bring everybody to the table. If they have to force all of them to the table, let them force all of them to the table. Because again, we must remember, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. And I feel that in this case, the grass shouldn't be made to suffer maybe the ego of maybe one of the two parties or both parties, so that at least the state shouldn't go in flames. The state is much more important than whatever both parties actually feel.
Absolutely. So this tension in Rivers State now has a political and legal dimension. And now Governor Fubara has just presented the 2024 budget to a 4-member faction of the Assembly. What is the implication of this?
For me, I think it's very, very absurd. And I don't see any way that the mathematics of it even makes sense. 4 of 32, there is no way. If we say, okay, we must always call it a democracy. A democracy is always the rule of the majority. But when 4 out of 32, which represents almost about 8%, I feel that 8 or 12%, I think that is a very, very tall order. And I feel that as much as possible, maybe more people, more legislators should be brought into the fray. If they have to be settled, if they have to be appealed to, the ones that decamp, they should be made to come back in order to be able to pass the law. Because we must always remember that the budget, as it is a law. And even though it is a sure law that must be passed every single year, of course, we have supplementary budgets at times, meaning that sometimes 2 or 3 times a monetary bill must go through. So this is very, very important. It is very, very crucial for infrastructure, for salaries of the workers in Rivers State. So they must be helped out. So anything that will be done, that has to be done in order for it to be lawful, in order for it to be lawfully done, then it must be done. So ultimately, it still goes back to all warring factions should be brought back to the table so that the legislators, the ones that decamped or whatever, can come back to do their job. Because as it is now, the legislative job, which is the #1 job in any government, there's a reason why Section 4 comes before Section 5 in the Constitution. There's a reason why Chapter 5 comes before Chapter 6 in the Constitution, meaning that the job of the legislature is much more important than even that of the executive, because laws have to be made before they are executed. So the appropriation bill that has been pushed in Rivers State is much more important than whatever ego that is being brought to bear by all the actors involved.
Mr. Justice, kindly let me put you on hold while I introduce my second guest. Joining us via Zoom is Mr. Kenny Okolubu, Public Affairs Analyst. Mr. Kenny, thank you so much for joining us this evening. What do you make of this tension in Rivers State? The governor has just presented the 2024 budget to a 4-member faction of the Assembly.
Well, I think this kind of actions will make us look very, very funny in the Committee of Nations. 2 things you must look at Rivers State. Rivers State has always been in the eye of the storm. The House of Assembly was burnt down. It was bombed and it was taken down. Now, in law, there must be an intention for you to commit a crime. Now, you ask yourself, who was going to benefit if the House of Assembly was going to be burnt? It was certainly going to be the majority leader of the House who was apprehensive that he was going to be removed from his position. And then again, there was the insinuation that the governor was going to be impeached. Yes, Fubara is the executive governor of Rivers State, and Wike is the minister of FCT. Now, this same Wike that is overbearing was the one that made you governor. This same Wike that you cannot stand his domineering influence is the same person that you worked with for 8 years. My take here is, if you cannot weather the storm, why do you get into the thick of the action? I don't see any reason why they could not have found peace after the president stepped in. But a situation whereby you have 2 court orders, and now you have a 3rd court order, it makes also a mockery of the judiciary. I don't think the governor should be hamstrung in terms of his budget presentation. The law allows him to at least spend 50% of last year's budget, even if he cannot present his budget. Yes, he's apprehensive that he wants to be impeached, but the impeachment must take a course. He cannot just be removed from office. there must be a reason for him to be removed from office. And even the 27 lawmakers who served him impeachment notice should be able to state the reason. You just can't remove a governor under flimsy excuse. And again, the ethnic card that they say the governor is playing, which to some would say, no, after all, the riverine area, which is the area that everybody has always felt was disadvantaged, has suddenly found power. And so you cannot say he's playing the ethnic card. The judges naturally protect their own. In all said and done, it's going to be a thing of ethnic divide. That is the picture that it's being presented right now in Rivers State. And it doesn't spell well. I don't see a situation where, if they are not careful, the president might not wield the big stick and declare a state of emergency in Rivers State. That is the situation they're pushing it to at this material point in time. Because if you realize the first court did not restrain the 27 lawmakers, it says status quo should remain. The other court in Abuja said the National Assembly should not take over. They should allow them access to their finance. And at the same time, they should allow them access to the assembly. Now the third court says, do not allow them access to the assembly. Edison, here, who is the majority leader that was removed, should be recognized as the speaker. So where do we go from here? That's the question you ask yourself. It's a hammer house of horror. That's the situation it looks like now in Rivers State.
Right. So before we get to the issue of requirement to forming a quorum, Mr. Kenny, you raised the issue of the demolition of the assembly complex. Now, according to the state government, after the inferno, the building became compromised, so they had to demolish. But questions have been raised around this. Some have said, if this is going to happen, shouldn't there be some alternative venues for the assembly members to sit?
Now, the thing about it is, the alternative venue certainly has to be provided also by the government. Now, you don't expect the governor, naturally, to want to provide a venue to the 27 members who he is apprehensive of, are eager to impeach him. But then again, you cannot say 4 is bigger than 27. If you say these 27 members have defected to the APC, it is for the courts to interpret Section 109 of the Constitution. If truly there is a division in PDP that warranted their leaving the PDP, or if there is no division in PDP, it's not enough for you to just write INEC and say declare their seats vacant. INEC cannot even declare their seats vacant. It is only the speaker that declares the seats vacant. And in a situation where the same speaker has also cross-carpeted, then you have to go to the courts. I think what is happening here is that the judiciary is making a mockery of this country. The big stick has to be wielded by the National Judicial Council. You just can't keep granting ex parte orders. I mean, it's just like going to the Jankara market to purchase them. There must be some decorum in the judiciary. They are the ones causing this confusion. Because if the House of Assembly is going to be renovated, certainly there must be an alternative. And who actually burnt down the House of Assembly? That is a criminal offense that has to be investigated. That's one question you must also ask yourself.
All right, Mr. Kenny, I'll get back to you. He just said the judiciary is causing this confusion. You're a lawyer. How do you react to that?
Okay, for me, I actually feel that a lot of things that happen in maybe a reportage and all, sometimes they don't reflect exactly what the happenings inside the courts are. For me, I may not be able to easily just say that that is the situation that judiciary should take the full fall for whatever decision has been let out. And I say this again, the backdrop of the fact that a judge will only decide based on facts and evidence placed before it. It is not supposed to, I don't want to say it will not, it is not supposed to decide based on whatever he or she sees on the TV or hears on radio or reads in the newspapers. But at the same time, I must also balance that out by saying that the judges are not living in heaven. They are also living on earth. Sometimes it's possible that they have a feel of what exactly the facts ought to be based on interpretation of the facts that is being given to them. So it is, I can't fully say that yes, the judiciary should take the fall for this, because it is very, very possible that credible facts were placed before the judge, credible evidence were placed before the judge that made the judge actually decide this way. So if investigation is conducted, maybe by NJC or any other party, and it finds that this is not the situation, then the big stick should be wielded against the judge and not the judiciary. And I must also state that a lot has happened against the judiciary, especially this year. A lot of confidence has been eroded. And it is because of one or two events that were very, very untoward. Maybe the Justice Datijo statements, and maybe the Bo Kachua statement, and a few other here and there. So when people now see that a particular court decision didn't go in their favor, then litigants will go and pour petrol on the fire by saying that he lost because the judiciary was corrupt. Then they will quote Bo Kachua, they will quote Datijo, and a few far and in between. And that does not give credence to the very hardworking and forthright judges that we still have in the system, that I make bold to say are not just in the majority, but in the vast majority. So we must be very, very careful and be very, very guided in the way we go against judiciary, because it is the only hope that the common man has. And I will still repeat and reiterate that the judiciary is still the defender of the government as we have it. And when I say government, I don't mean the government of the day, the government of the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Because without the forthright judiciary, as we still largely have in Nigeria, we won't be here as a country. So the bad eggs that may be within, that definitely are within them, should still be fished out. And we must keep talking until that is done. But we should not keep painting with a rather broad brush. And
as a matter of fact, the defectors have vowed to take this matter before the NJC. But let's talk about the issue of requirement to form in a quorum. Can that stand with this?
I find that to be very, very difficult. I can't even say yes to this. I can't say yes because, of course, 4 out of 32 or out of 31 is too absurd. There is nowhere on the face of God's green earth that will be counted as a majority to be able to take cataclysmic decisions that will affect the destiny, lives and destiny of the people of Rivers State.
All right, Mr. Kenny, let me come to you. How justified is the decision of the 27 lawmakers to defect from the PDP to APC? How justified?
Well, as a public affairs analyst, I think if you ask me, looking at it from all perspectives, I don't think it was right for them to leave the PDP at this point in time. Even if they were going to leave, they should have left at the time after the House maybe had been stabilized. They gave their excuses. They had 2 court cases. They presented one from the former secretary, or rather the secretary of the party, Sam Daddy, who contested for the Imo State House of Assembly, Imo State governorship election. And it also talked about the other, is he Okoye now, who is also contesting the position of secretaryship of the party. It is for the court to determine if there is really a division in the PDP. But the truth still remains that 27 is greater than 4. And so if the 27 of them have left, a due process should be set in place. I must repeat again, the biggest problem in this country right now is the judiciary that is giving Jankara rulings. How can a court of the same coordinate jurisdiction give an ex parte order when 2 other courts of coordinate jurisdiction have already weighed into the matter? Where do you know which of the orders do you want the police to obey? And you say it's not the judiciary? The governor waited until he got that ex parte order before he presented the budget to 4 members. Now, if you say it is what was even presented before the judge, if I'm to look at it objectively, the members sat the day after the assembly was attacked. The 27 of them suspended suspended Edison Ehie and 4 others. And so, in the eyes of the law, they were already suspended before they even sat to say they had made Edison the speaker. Now, Edison claims that, as at that material point in time, majority of the members of the House had made him the speaker. But where was the majority members of the House? It was only 3 members of the House that he said had made him the speaker. And these were suspended members already in the eyes of the law. So what are you going to put before a court that will not make a judge grant an ex parte order to 4 people out of a 32-member House to say that person should be recognized? I'm just being politically correct here and looking at it as an analyst. It makes a mockery of democracy, because if you trace the line of events, the 27 members have stayed on the path of the law. And so also, if you want to deal with the 27 members, use the law to deal with them and not cut corners, because the judgments that they have given now has presented Rivers State in a very poor light. Nobody is saying that impeaching Fubara is justified. But Fubara himself is also taking a lot of counsel from people who also have ulterior motives. Otherwise, he wouldn't present his budget to a 4-member House. That is the caricature of democracy, if you ask me in all honesty, and makes a mockery of Nigeria in the Committee of Nations. And there is no way the president will be happy with. We have never heard this before. In all the divisions, even in Edo State, at least there were 10 members. We have never heard of 4 to be greater than 27. It's not done anywhere. Anybody that is supporting that is only being myopic and does not want to face facts. I'm not from Rivers State, but I'm looking at it from an objective perspective. Now, if you say the FCT minister is overbearing, which a lot of people agree, did you not know he was overbearing before you accepted to get him to sponsor you to become the governor? Did you not know did you not know his traits? Did you not know his characteristics? So then again, if you feel this is the situation you have found yourself, there are ways you walk around it, because you have worked with him for 8 years. They say he needs anger management. Has he not shown those traits when he was governor of Rivers State? Is he just exhibiting those traits for the first time? Did you not all enjoy, even Danagogo, who is the secretary to government, who they say his younger brother was the one that gave the ex parte order in Port Harcourt, when they were having their valedictory section, he spent time telling us how wicked was his sole benefactor in life. And today, he's with Fubara. I don't understand. These days, politicians don't have any integrity. Sorry to say.
All right, Mr. Kenny, I'll get back to you. Now, Mr. Justice, the 27 lawmakers quoted some parts of the law that states that if there is a division within your party, members can defect to other parties. Help us break this down. Okay,
of course, it now depends on whether the courts will interpret that as a genuine division. Because again, whatever it is that they are describing as a division, they are prone to interpret it in their sentimental or to their objective ends. And it's possible that at the end of the day, while interpreting it, the court may say that, okay, there is a genuine division that is substantive enough, that is sufficient enough in the eyes of the law to justify them actually moving to another place where there is peace. Because as human beings, we should always gravitate towards peace. So now, at the end of the day, it depends on how the court eventually see it, whether it's a substantive division or it's just a mirage that they manufactured in order to be able to carry out their own ends. But if you ask me as a person, whether I genuinely see division in the PDP that occasioned that, it's very, very obvious. If the governor, sitting governor, and the ex-governor are having this much axe to grind, and even the ex-governor, before he even left to go and become a minister in the cabinet of the APC, there was serious division by my own personal recognition.
So the excuse is justified?
If you leave it to me, I will say yes.
All right. So the factional speaker has also declared the seats of the 27 members vacant. Can this also stand?
He also is interpreting. He too is giving himself his own interpretation of that provision by saying that there is no genuine division. So the fact that they left, he now considers it that, okay, they have flouted the provisions of the Constitution. So now it's just a matter of, he says, she says, everybody is just giving themselves their own interpretation in order to be able to carry out their own ends.
All right, Mr. Kenny, let me come to you. Now, despite a court order restraining both factions from sitting, the Martins Amewale faction also starts. What's the implication of having two factions sitting at different times?
That is why I said the court is not helping matters. You can't even call it faction. 4 can never be greater than 27. The truth about it was the governor should also have played the politics of poaching. He is a sitting governor. He has the power of the force. He should have been able to poach more people from the 27 members before taking his decision to present the budget. If he's not able to play the politics of poaching more from the 27 members, then he should have also been patient to allow the courts interpret the actions of the lawmakers, especially his impeachment. 6 months into his tenure, I really do not see anything that can warrant impeaching a governor. I don't see the misdemeanor. I don't see the high crimes that could have been envisioned, that is envisioned by the Constitution, that could have been committed by Fubara, that warrants his being impeached. He could also have stood his ground to say, I'll fight whatever charges that they're bringing my way. But where they also made the biggest mistake was setting the House of Assembly ablaze. Now, are you going to say that those that set the House of Assembly ablaze are going to profit from it? Because Edison here has been accused to be the mastermind of the attack on the Assembly. And if you ask yourself, in the eyes of the law, who profits from the attack on the House of Assembly? It is Edison here. And so it is right for them to make him a suspect. And they are also claiming that...
Mr. Kenny, those are unsubstantiated allegations. So,
I said in the eyes of the law. No, I'm not accusing him. I'm saying in the eyes of the law. You look at intention. Who would benefit? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's the one. In the eyes of the law, he was a member that was suspended the next day. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So it was said to be that the Assembly was attacked to stop his suspension and the impeachment of the governor. And true to it, exactly that happened the next day. The members did exactly what was they rumored to say they were going to do. So I haven't laid the blame on anybody, but I'm just trying to say that they must also investigate to punish whoever has done that, because the taxpayers' money for Rivers State is going to be used to build back that edifice. And that's a whole lot of money, if you ask me, my own opinion. And that could have been used for other, you can imagine how much has gone down the drain with this fight.
Right.
That I think is unnecessary.
Right. So some constituents from some local government areas say they have commenced the process to recall some lawmakers in the State Assembly. What do you make of this? Well,
we have seen that it's been almost impossible for you to recall any member of any of the, either the State Assembly, the National Assembly, or even the Senate. Remember when they tried to recall Dino Melaye? They have tried so many times. That one, they put in so much effort. To recall a member, you must be able to raise signatures. It's a very expensive process. I think they just also want to send a signal to those members that we are not happy with what you're doing. But I don't think they will succeed with that recall process, if you ask me, in my own opinion.
Right, Mr. Kenny, I'll get back to you. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Justice, what's the implication of having two factions sitting at different times?
Okay, for me, I think that eventually the court will now have to choose who exactly is the legitimate faction. And this is not the first time we are seeing factional politics, but it is very, very dangerous. We saw factional politics when political parties, for example, PDP, this faction for PDP, that faction for PDP, they take acts. And after they take acts and actions, eventually the court will say, okay, there is this faction that is actually genuine. And all the actions carried out by the faction before the court decision, the court actually continues the legitimization of it because it has been legitimate from the beginning. So if that's also, by that same token, if that's what happens to this assembly, whatever decision this faction takes, whatever decision that faction takes, it will now be the decision of the court eventually as to which faction was even genuine from the beginning, and all the actions that they have taken. It will not necessarily be rectified or ratified, but it will actually be considered genuine from its beginning, from what we call foncet origin.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break. I've been speaking with a lawyer and political analyst, Justice Ojieno, and also a public affairs analyst, Kenny Okoliko, tonight to discussing the political tension in Rivers State. We'll take a break now, and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Sales! Embrace the holiday spirit with a shopping extravaganza at the TVC Women's Network First Sales Fair. Join us for an amazing opportunity to explore a wide array of products and services at festive discounts. Discover irresistible offers. Mark your calendar, December 15th to 17th, 2023. Venue, TVC Communications, 1 Continental Drive off CMD Road, Ikosiketu, Lagos. Time, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Immerse yourself in the festive vibe with a shopping spree featuring exciting games, stunning showcases, and live performances. Wrap up your shopping list with unmissable savings. For inquiries, call 0803-284-8509. Join us for an unforgettable holiday shopping adventure. This event is brought to you by TVC Communications.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight, we're focused on the political tension in Rivers State as Governor Fubara presents 2024 budget to four-man faction of the State Assembly. And I've been speaking with two gentlemen, public affairs analyst Kenny Okoliko and lawyer and public affairs analyst Justice Ojieno. Mr. Justice, let's continue with this conversation before I get back to Mr. Kenny. Tell us, apart from the process being expensive, why has it been very hard to recall any legislator in Nigeria?
The numbers. The numbers, because you actually need, I think you need about 5% of the total number of electorates in order for them to contribute their signatures, in order for the process to even be kick-started. And if you can't even get that ball rolling, then it is a no-brainer that the process will definitely suffer a fatal blow. And of course, we saw that was what happened. About the most viable one that has been attempted in this country was with Dino Melaya, as Mr. Okoligbo earlier talked about. And we saw that it failed woefully and abysmally, despite the fact that it was just one senator that was involved. And the governor was centrally and frontally against him. The governor used all political powers to try to be able to summon the numbers, but the numbers never came to be sufficient to be able to carry out that rare constitutional act. But now talk of a place where there is absolute turmoil, as Rivers State, where you want to effect that kind of process on 27 persons simultaneously, or even if you cut the numbers down significantly. I am very, very sure that because there is opposition to it, it will never ever see the light of day.
Gentlemen, let's now talk about effective representation. For this latest development, who will represent interest of constituents if only 4 lawmakers deliberate on the budgets presented by the governor?
And that's why I've always also maintained that it is so absurd. The mathematics is, there is nowhere on the face of the earth where the mathematics will be tendered and where it will be accepted. 4 can never ever represent the interest of what happens to the other persons who voted for the 27 other persons to represent them. So 4 can never 4 can never, it doesn't even scratch it, can never ever make law. And I'm as much as possible, I'm trying to hold myself back from prejudicing the courts, but it will be very, very difficult for any court to be able to tell us that 4 persons actually represented the interests of the whole legislature for Rivers State.
Mr. Okolugbo, let me have your take on this. Who will represent interest of constituents if only 4 lawmakers deliberate on the budget presented by the governor?
That's why I said we're making ourselves a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. There is no way 4 can be greater than 32. Don't forget that one other member died and has not even been replaced. And they just had a valedictory session in his honor. So if you look at it, it depends on the perspective you want to look at it. But no matter the perspective you want to look at it, you can't put 4 over 32. And so that's why I said the governor should have shown a bit of patience here. The governor was hasty in submitting that budget. He could still spend 50% of last year's budget. And I think some of his advisors are putting him on the wrong course. Yes, they want him to confront former Governor Wike. Yes, they want him to show that he can match force with force. But there is this thing called wisdom in every action you take. Now, how does he stand to tell the world that he's recognizing a speaker that has only 3 members? It doesn't make any sense. No matter how much he feels he's right, two wrongs don't make a right. Yes, the members might be wrong to have left the PDP to the APC, but leave the courts to interpret that. That is the absolute truth. You just can't declare their seats vacant. The Constitution is very clear on how the seats can be declared vacant. And the Speaker himself has also left, like I earlier said. And so I think what they must do in Rivers State is to ask themselves, where do we go from here? Because this is power play. It's going to be a long-drawn battle. If care is not taken, like I said, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will have to wield the big stick without minding whose horse is God. He will declare a state of emergency to bring sanity back to Rivers State, because Rivers State is a very important state in this country. That's what I see coming if the players are not careful. Because if you look at the crowd that has been coming out on the streets for the governor, you must also tell yourself that the former governor has the capacity to match that crowd, if not surpass that crowd. And so if they start doing that and the people start fighting an all-out war, what happens to the peace and security that Rivers State has enjoyed before now? The governor should also realize that he's the chief security officer of the state.
Right. So, Mr. Okolugbo, let me stay with you. There is also the issue of the mace. What's the implication for both factions?
Well, the mace, you say, is the symbol of authority. So once the mace is in place, as far as I'm concerned, that's the symbol of authority. Must it be the mace that was handed over by the former assembly? The mace is not sacrosanct to me. It must not be one mace. As long as it looks like a mace and it is put in position, that's a symbol of authority. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution that they say there must be one carved mace, and that once that carved mace is missing, you cannot sit. If somebody should correct me, I know the Constitution of Nigeria, there's nothing like that there. And so once you have put the mace, the symbol of authority is there. And these are members who have been elected, who have collected their certificates of return from INEC.
Go on, Mr.
Okay. I will also add. I will add my voice to what he said. Mr. Okolugbo said that the mace is not. There is nowhere in the Constitution that where it is mentioned that it has to be there. We must remember that rules of procedure, they are made by the legislators upon taking office, and they decide that okay, this is what they want to follow. So maybe pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution, they made the rules that now by which they now follow the use of a mace. But if it's not in their rules of procedure, then it's not something that is as crucial. But constitutionally, it's not something that is provided for.
All right, so some days ago, before the whole issue escalated to what we have today, some stakeholders have called for the takeover of Rivers Assembly by the National Assembly. Are you in support of this? For
me, I think it's premature. I think that we should do everything we can to preserve the democracy, both at the federal level and at the state level. I think it is highly premature, and as much as possible, we should tone down on anything that tends to escalate to that position. The only time I think a state of emergency has been used in the most recent time, maybe 15 years ago, was in Plateau State. And even the courts, I think at the time, actually chastised and said that it was premature at the time. So I feel that everything that has to be done should be done to the point where we don't even have it as a topic. It should play the back of the back burner. It shouldn't be something that we should have simply on our lips as a consideration. Everything that we have to do to settle the warring factions, we should settle the warring factions. Because the National Assembly has too much already on its hands that it has not legislated enough on. We need laws. I, for one, have also been calling that we need the amendment to our constitution. So the National Assembly has too much work on its hand. It's not close enough to the people of Rivers State to be able to make laws for the people of Rivers State. He has too much on his hands. He cannot particularly know the tailor issues of Rivers State. It will only consider it a part-time job or a part-time issue. Rivers State deserves a full-time functioning and working legislature. So anything that can be done to return Rivers State to that track should be done with all exigency and alacrity.
Right, but how difficult do you think it will be to bring both parties, specifically now Governor Fubara and former Governor Wike, to the discussion table as dialogue remains sacrosanct?
I don't think it's that difficult. Our elders are not bereft of wisdom. There are still elders in Rivers State. There are still elders, wise elders in Rivers State and in the South. The president is still there. So there are still channels that can be explored in order to settle the warring factions.
Don't forget that this issue is already having some ethnic slur.
I understand, and that's why I'm saying that we have to tone down on it. And we have to ensure that persons who are going to be profiting from playing the ethnic cards as much as possible, they are called to order as fast as possible so that peace and calm can be brought into this issue. I will keep repeating it. There are still wise people who can settle these people. I don't know what the issues are. Maybe those people who are wise, they will be able to handle the issues and calm them down, because it's in the interest of Rivers State people that things should be calmed down as fast as possible. I don't think it is impossible.
Mr. Kologbo, just like I asked him, how difficult do you think it will be to bring both parties to the discussion table?
I don't think it will be impossible for them to come to the discussion table. If they had the respect for the president, he had called both parties, and he had been. I mean, some of us were a bit privy to what the discussions were, and if they had kept to the advice by the president, things would not have escalated. The problem here are those who come with gossip. I've always told leaders, that person that comes to you and acts like he's loyal and hears all the stories, ask him what he has also said about you. Because the ones that show stupid loyalty, that doesn't challenge the leader and speak truth to power, are the ones that often betray when they have power. The ones that look at you eyeball to eyeball and tell you the truth as followers, you tend to be apprehensive and say, no, this one will not be loyal if he has power. But that's not the truth. Our leader, Papa Clark, who is the leader of the South, has also given a warning to at least maybe Governor Wike. But at this point in time, I'm sure Papa Clark would also be very worried because he's the leader of the South. He would have to call on the president to call the two of them together so that we can find lasting solutions. And it won't be a case of power play. I think if Fubara has worked with Governor Wike, former Governor Wike, for such a long time, he shouldn't allow those who seem to want to use him to get back to Governor Wike to rock the boat. He can still show humility, no matter the powers that he has. Because that same overbearing influence, like I said, that same anger, that same whatever it was, you have experienced this all this while. Why are you making it sound like it's something you can't bear with anymore? Or that the world must end? Because it's Wike for you. Everybody knows who Wike is. And Wike himself would also have to ask himself some certain questions. Do I want to leave my state in turmoil because I want to deal with Fubara? Is that what I really want? Do I want this to continue to happen because I'm angry because I think he has shown ingratitude? That is not the right way to go. So they must submit themselves to the president because they both work for the president. I remember when Fubara led the delegation to go and thank the president for appointing Wike and others. He clearly said he also aligned with Wike to work for the president. So they should be able to give the president a chance, just like what has happened in Ondo now, and Ondo is finding peace, to find peace so that we don't have this situation of a state of emergency.
So ultimately, what impact do you think the crisis will have on the state?
It is going to tell on his economy. It's already telling on his economy. It is going to weigh it down in terms of progress of the work on the state. We already know that Rivers State is one state that has had an infrastructural turnaround. It's also going to give this, it's distracting the FCT minister from doing his work in Abuja. It's distracting the governor. Those who are profiting are those who we call military-industrial complex in political science. They profit from one pestilence. And so they will continue to want to fan the embers of discord. And those are the people that they should bring to, I mean, they should shame at this point, if I use that word, by finding peace so that the states can move forward. Because there is no win-win in this situation here. It is all about pride at this point, not even about fighting for power. One has to give way so that they can find peace. And I think it's not impossible to still find peace.
All right, Mr. Justice, let me come to you. I mean, we've talked about how important the peace and sanctity of the people of Rivers State is. For you, how important is it that the security agencies remain neutral?
For me, I think it's eternally important, because if they choose to side with any of the parties, maybe because of private gains or short-term gains, I think the other party, the other faction will not find it fair. And when a person or a group of persons don't find it fair, they are going to fight back. And if they fight back, even the security parties who take side will find themselves to blame at the end of the day, because peace that they will be trying to use force to guarantee in favor of one person eventually will be a lost cause, because the other parties will fight back, and it will not augur well for the people of Rivers State.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I must say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Kenny Okolugbo, Public Affairs Analyst, and Mr. Justice Ojiena, Lawyer and Public Affairs Analyst, as we focus on the political tension in Rivers State as Governor Fubara presents 2024 budget to a four-man faction of the State Assembly. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenny. And thank you so much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke WO using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Good night.
Get in on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash outs and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 200,000 Naira. Betano.ng, the game starts now.
Sales Sales, sales, sales! Embrace the holiday spirit with a shopping extravaganza at the TVC Women's Network First Sales Fair. Join us for an amazing opportunity to explore a wide array of products and services at festive discounts. Discover irresistible offers. Mark your calendar, December 15th to 17th, 2023. Venue, TVC Communications, 1 Continental Drive off CMD Road, Ikosiketu, Lagos. Time, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Immerse yourself in the festive vibe with a shopping spree featuring exciting games, stunning showcases, and live performances. Wrap up your shopping list with unmissable savings. For inquiries, call 0803-284-8509. Join us for an unforgettable holiday shopping adventure. This event is brought to you by TVC Communications.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, where the black gold continues to flow and fuel Africa's largest economy, where the line between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Oil, gas, politics, development and community issues all are highly valuable commodities in the Niger Delta. How do they combine and how can they work together to spawn a new era in the Niger Delta? As he probes deep to analyze issues in the region from angles never before explored. Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
We will invite all Akwa Ibomites to arise to the fate of greatness with our Rise agenda. The sun is rising, the land is peaceful, it's so amazing that I can see. I want you to I am the future, yeah.
Welcome to the transformative journey of Gombe State. Like a beautiful bride in the savannah, Gombe State is steadily growing to become a commercial and investment hub with accelerated development of world-class infrastructure, quality education, and healthcare. The jewel in the savannah, under the visionary leadership of Governor Inuwa Yahaya, is taking giant strides in the quest to making Gombe State a paradise in Nigeria's northeast region. Join us on this adventure every Thursday by 3:30 p.m. as we explore Gombe's transformative journey to greatness.
It is time for consolidation of recovery efforts in Borno State, devastated by years of insurgency and terror. From security to education, health, agriculture, infrastructure and housing, every sector has continued to bear the stamp of Zulum's visionary leadership. Join us on Borno Restoration as we track, showcase and analyze developmental strides of Professor Babagana Zulum and his overwhelming care for the vulnerable. Borno Restoration on TVC News every Saturday at 8 p.m. It's time to restore.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking it.
the Commission has decided to adjust the dates for the 2023 general election to ensure compliance with the provisions of the new law.
On the 26th of February 2022, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) announced new dates for the 2023 general election in Nigeria. The Commission had earlier announced February 18, 2023 for the presidential election. Yakubu said the new date followed the signing into law amendments to the electoral bill by then-President Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari had rejected the same bill 5 times, citing reasons such as drafting errors, proximity to the dates of elections, insecurity, cost of executing of its provisions, among others. Before this new date, both the governorship and state houses of assembly elections were slated for the 4th of March 2023.